gosh, I'm finally filming! I tell you, it is hard to work up the motivation to do this, but here I am. Alright, today's topic is the P word. Generally, I feel like most of y'all metalheads out there are very nice, have a great sense of humor, are very cultured and intelligent, have a true taste for art, obviously. But every community has its problems, and I feel like out of the more unintelligent and closed-minded side of this community, we get the use of the P word, poser. Yes, even outside of middle school, I am seeing this happen. So today I'm just going to ruminate and muse on this topic and the use of the word and why we feel like we need to use it, and how you can come to terms with the posers in your life. So what makes someone want to call someone a poser? I think it comes deep down from the idea that your truth is the one and only truth. Your tastes, your philosophy, your mental knowledge, that's the real truth. Then you assume that if someone else doesn't share the same preferences as you, you assume that they are morons and therefore have the right to cut them down. And yes, I understand. Some of us have been on a very long journey to get to where we are today, and we're proud of it, and it's okay to be proud. But perhaps this question is the main source of why people call each other a poser. The question is, what is metal? I feel this definition is getting more and more broad and complex every passing day. One person's definition of metal is completely different from another person's. For example, some bands that certain people think are metal, I do not consider metal at all. But they still use that term to describe their bands, and I still use metal to describe completely different bands. What is true metal is a never-ending debate. And it's kind of sad, it's kind of annoying. Like, just because you meet someone on the street who says they like metal doesn't mean you'll end up having any bands in common. Still, such a disagreement does not constitute poserism, if you will. And what makes you so sure that your metal is the one true metal anyway? Okay, so I just touched on what is metal. That's a big problem. The next issue that causes the P word to be flung around is this inter-genre issue within metal. Someone who listens to strictly black metal might think that someone who listens to Slayer is a joke. Someone who listens to Lamb of God might think that power metal is for sissies and nerds. But what people forget is that a lot of these bands in question, like, all these different genres, this is all metal. It's just different types of genres made for completely different types of people. Alongside this inter-genre issue, we also have the obscure versus mainstream issue. And the resentment definitely goes both ways for sure. And finally, we have the uniformity or purity issue. If someone who likes mayhem also likes Drake, for example, they must be a poser too, apparently, because who needs diversity? Because man can totally live on bread alone. Maybe this is a cliche analysis, but it seems that people who call other people poser are coping with their own need to prove themselves, and perhaps their own insecurity about their own legitimacy. I mean, and nobody should be trying to prove themselves anyway. It's genuinely not a contest. It's literally a personal relationship about you and the music you like. If you find someone else who feels the same way, that's awesome. That is just a bonus. I feel like a lot of times people aren't actually posing. They sometimes just don't know. They just don't know about other bands. Maybe they're new to this world and don't know what else is out there yet. They may not know about the more underground bands or the bands from other labels or the bands from other countries. Or maybe they don't care because they like the bands they have. Strangely enough, I see people that are happy listening to 4 metal bands and they don't want any more metal bands. They just want those 4. And that should be okay. And yeah, there are people who have the wrong idea about what metal means and what metal encompasses and everything. Like people might say, I like metal, I listen to Korn and Marilyn Manson and Disturbed or something. That doesn't necessarily make them a poser. They just don't know. But yeah, so a lot of these issues are just like personal preference, combined with the identity a person wants to associate with. So who are we to fault them for that? I mean, that's their business, right? Okay, so, like, do you know how many people have come on my videos featuring bands like Belphegor, Suffocation, Gorgoroth, and told my poser ass to check out Metallica? Well, these might be an example of people who just like that mainstream metal that they know, like that familiar mainstream metal, and they're like, what is that? You should listen to Slayer. But we'll explore how to get along with them later on in this video. Okay, so I've sort of talked about ways to give people the benefit of the doubt, like the ways that people may not actually be like blatant posers. I even hate using that word. But anyway, let's get down to the real unfortunate truth. There are those situations, of course, where people are more enamored with the aesthetic of the metal community and the culture around metal more so than the actual music itself. These people enjoy being able to differentiate themselves or set themselves apart by associating with an unapproachable subculture. Perhaps these people get ahead of themselves a little bit by pursuing the aesthetic before pursuing the music, and therefore may be pretending to know more than they do. They may not demonstrate real involvement or knowledge in the metal community. So yeah, I guess they're posing or whatever. Alright, but so what? What's it to you? Really, what's it to you? Why does it bother you? Why does it bother me? Okay, so how do we get along with posers? Here's my advice. Personally, give people the benefit of the doubt. Think about the reasons that I mentioned before, like maybe they just don't know, maybe they're new, maybe they're trying to get into it and still working on it. Maybe they don't realize that there are other genres out there. So yeah, give those people the benefit of the doubt and instead worry about yourself and like your own metal journey, as I like to call it. Keep doing you. Be a shining example and be proud of the stuff you know and the stuff you listen to and, you know, however long you've been in the game or whatever. Be proud of the years you've put in and the roads that you have ventured down. Keep your truth and your definitions true in here, because some people just have a different truth and that doesn't have to affect you. The rule of thumb that I've been adhering to in recent years is 3 simple words. Do not engage. Okay, so like an example, if I encounter somebody that's like, yeah, I love metal, I love Suicide Silence, I guess you do too since you like metal. Or my favorite, yeah, you should check out Cannibal Corpse if you like metal. They're pretty heavy. Oh, thanks for that. When I do encounter somebody who says things like that, I'll just say like, oh yeah, thanks. I usually like don't really say anything back or I'll change the subject. Because for me, like, it's not something I want to argue about, and I also don't want to like give off this vibe, this like high and mighty vibe either. The discussion is just not worth it for me anymore. It used to make me like really heated. It took me time too to like learn to just turn inward and like worry about myself and what I like and not feel like I have to convince people of something or prove myself to someone. You know, and I think about the times where I did feel like I had to prove myself to somebody. Like when I was in college, I had the metal posters all over my dorm room, which they'll be back up soon. And one time, my roommate brought this guy in, and he looked at my wall, and he was like, how old are you? Like, what does that even have to do with anything? But I was like, you know, like, I was like, blah, 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 like, I was standing up for myself and, like, feeling like I had to prove myself to this dude who, like, listens to only Killswitch Engage. No offense, they're good. But you know what I mean. And then, like, I think about this other time where I was at a party, and I have my Acid Bath shirt on, and, these guys stopped me, and they're like, you like Acid Bath, huh? And I was like, yeah, they're my favorite band. And they're like, well, what year did their last album come out? Jerks. I mean, I answered, and I answered right, but then the point is, like, I shouldn't have to answer those kinds of questions. I shouldn't be asking other people those questions either. And interact with and like hang out with and work with people who identify as metalheads but listen to like something way different than me. And that's fine, but I don't talk to them about music really because it gets kind of awkward sometimes because they'll be like, oh yeah, this band, and I'm like, no. And then if there's somebody on the internet who's either saying things to me or who's, you know, saying something in their own space, like on their YouTube video about metal, like, and if it makes me cringe or if I totally don't agree, like, I just don't bother them. Like, I just don't say anything. You know how many people on my videos are telling me to, like, put down my crappy music and go listen to Metallica? Well, I just don't say anything back. That's the way to do it, I think. Who cares if you come upon somebody who thinks they're the most metal thing to walk the planet and all they do is listen to Marilyn Manson or something? No offense, I like Marilyn Manson. But you get my point. That's fine. They can identify however they want to. But if someone ever wants to know more about what I listen to, I will gladly open a few doors. But I never try to force anything on anyone anymore. I'll make a whole other video about that at some point. My metal theory series. In conclusion, the true definition of metal and subsequently poserism itself is all in the eyes of the beholder. So, in my opinion, no one is therefore qualified to be the poser police. And I find the P word very cruel and very immature, and this is probably the most I've ever said it in my whole life in this video. And before you jump to conclusions about anyone, you really do need to explore the context which you're in. So for example, maybe someone is just getting into metal. Why would you shut them down so early and basically like shame them out of this community? Because you're jumping to conclusions about them. Everyone has to start somewhere, and furthermore, everyone has the right to stop wherever they want to. Like what I was saying earlier, if they only want to listen to like 4 metal bands and still say they're a metalhead, like that's their business. So I would just encourage you all to not assume anything before checking your facts about somebody. Or you know what? Don't check your facts. You know what? If someone's bothering you with like their association with metal, then just turn around and do something else. I don't want to like make this about me, but another example is like my first metal reaction video I did with Sky. Like we're giggling, we're like dressed the same, we're acting super girly, and people will comment and say that I'm a total poser, but if they had like clicked on any of my other videos about metal, they may not have thought that anymore. So it's just like people are so quick to just spout out something without saying, maybe I should check before I say something and look like an idiot. If you call somebody a poser because you think they're wrong and they need to be fixed, well, that's not going to fix anything. That's not constructive. You could like politely say, oh hey, you should check out blank band. You might like them. Smiley face. And if this person does really want to grow in the metal they listen to, they're going to turn to people like you, the metal community, to ask for advice and suggestions. Basically, just be confident in your own lack of poserism and let the grasshoppers come to you if they so desire, but they may not. At the end of the day, this is about you and metal, not about anybody else. So just put on your headphones, press play, sit back and listen to your jams, and be humble. Alright, metal lords and ladies, I'm out. Let me know your thoughts on posers. These are the thoughts that I'm trying to manifest in myself, because it is a little annoying, especially nowadays, because like metal imagery is kind of on trend, but it is a trend and it'll pass again. But guess what? We'll all still be listening to metal. You guys have to encounter some people who you secretly kind of question their legitimacy. I do hang out or like interact with people who like metal, but like they like core and stuff like that instead, or more of the mainstream stuff that I'm like way over. No offense, I'm not better than anybody, but yeah, I do have to deal like interact with those people, and I'm just talk about other stuff. That's fine, because I respect what they like and how they identify, and that's getting better. It would get like annoying, especially like for people to pretend they know stuff. I don't think I ever really pretended to know stuff in metal. I'd be like, nope, I haven't heard them, or no, I haven't listened to that album. And that's okay, you know, just like, you can't have shame about it. Anyway, I'm so rambling. Alright, well, we can always have a little conversation in the comments about poserism and stuff. That's it for me. Stay metal, everybody. Bye forever.